Good day, ladies and gentlemen. This is Daniel Umstead, host of the RNG radio show. I got another guest tuned in, talk about some marketing to help build your brand, but I brought him on the show to help build his brand. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Wendell Jordan with Jordan Marketing Consultants. Wendell, how you doing today, man?
Fantastic, brother. Thank you for the platform. Thank you for the opportunity. It's much appreciated.
Awesome. We got to raise each other up, man. Wakanda forever. That stays around forever. So let's hop right into it. Tell me about Jordan Marketing Consultants. What is it you do and how do you help people?
Yes, sir. So we're a digital marketing agency. Our primary focus is web design and local SEO. It's been a process. Basically, all of this started as a one-stop shop. Right, I was Jordan Consults once upon a time. I was a one-stop shop. I did everything, graphics, whatever. Right, didn't matter as long as you paid me. I would, in the digital space, it would be done. But as time progressed, I realized some of those web design clients, the websites wouldn't stay online, but it was because they really didn't have anything to usher their business forward. So it started off with just a concept of how do we get these clients or these one-off web design projects to turn into something more tangible, especially for business owners who were transitioning from their brick and mortar space. So what it attritioned into was having some local clients, understanding SEO a little bit, but also understanding local SEO a lot deeper before local SEO was even a term, in fact. So we started doing local directories at my old agency. And I brought that concept over to Jordan Marketing Consultants. And then what we started doing was really just becoming really good at web design that also converts, right? So not just something that's pretty, but something that has the right call to actions in the right space. And then looking at keywords that are focused on what your locality looks like.
Okay, all right. Now, I want to back it up a little bit because you threw out a jargon that is definitely familiar to both of us, but may not be familiar, especially those that do come from a brick and mortar business. What is exactly a local SEO and why do people need to be concerned about it, especially in 2021?
Absolutely. So when you think about SEO, it's a timeless, term, search engine optimization. When you talk about local search engine optimization, it's being able to find the customers that are local to your location. So if you are, I always use pizza shops. It may be an East Coast thing, right? So I'm originally a New Yorker. I'm in Houston now, but New Yorker raised. So pizza is always my reference. If you're a pizza shop, having someone find you that isn't in your locality doesn't necessarily help you, right? So if you're using your marketing budget, regardless of whether it be, organic content or if you're actually using it in ad spend, if you're not centralizing that effort to the customers that you truly serve, it's a useless point. So once upon a time, SEO was something where, it was a very broad network of information or broad network of feelers that you would send out. Whereas with local SEO, it's hyper focused. So again, that same pizza shop, if they're located, somewhere in Philly, somewhere in New York, somewhere here in Houston, someone finding you in Oregon is useless, right? They're not ordering a pie to go. They're not going to come pick it up. You need someone that's in your locality. That's essentially what we do. We work with local business to help them find local clients.
Okay. All right. Awesome. And then typically what is I know we mentioned pizza shops, but assuming there's probably not that many down in Texas. What does your ideal client look like? Well, not like the ones like New York.
Well, no, not like New York pizza. I have yet to experience anything like New York pizza. In fact, just is a total foolery. I didn't know pizza didn't come by the slice, right? Like I grew up in New York. It wasn't until I went somewhere else and was looking for a slice of pizza and was like, so I can only get it by the pie? This is
I'll just want my money.
Right, exactly. I'm not a pie's worth of hungry. I just need a slice of pizza. So our primary right now, we're transitioning into more home improvement businesses, right? So, remodelers, roofers, general contractors, plumbers, electricians, some of the people who are again are hyper focused, right? They usually have a license that's within a certain state or locality. We work with restaurants. We work with people in the health and wellness space. I have a couple of clients that are actually in the mental health space that have physical locations pre-COVID that are transitioning back into having people come into their offices. So again, it's the concept of if you're looking for XYZ business in a specific location, as the business, you have to make sure that you're coming up in search, right? It's not a if you build it, they will come kind of thing.
Sure, sure. No, I completely understand. And then I do want to back up a little bit, like as far as like, what was the reason that you got started? A lot of people don't look at, digital marketing as like, man, I'm going to help people build their business. So what was your passion? What was the reason that you wanted to get into SEO?
Yes, sir. So I think something that really drove it home earlier today, I was having this conversation, and it wasn't that, right? I did not wake up one morning and go, digital marketing is me, right? I got put into the space because I had a previous agency, and the only thing I did was sell websites. And as I transitioned into doing this by myself, I needed to figure out why the website that I thought at the time was really good, which sadly I don't even have a screenshot of, but I wish I did because it was really bad. But it was the first site that I built myself. So I was trying to figure out why this site didn't generate traffic, right? Why wasn't the phone ringing off the hook? It was solid. It had some call to actions. It made sense to me. And I started looking into SEO. Again, it trickled into becoming a bit of everything kind of business, that initial phase when I was all by myself. But as I've grown Jordan Marketing Consultants, the passion has now become helping local business, because quite frankly, more often than not, local business is just a hobby that got professional, right? Like more often than not, these people are, aunts, uncles, and cousins that everyone cheered on until they became a catering company, right? Until they decided that, so-and-so's really handy. And I'm not to take anything away from someone who has, any accreditations, but they're really good at what they do. They're not marketers. And they also can't afford to go to some of these larger companies that need a minimum $10,000 a month spend, because it just doesn't balance out the way that they service their industry, right? So it has become a labor of love. If you would have told me 6-7 years ago that I would be talking to people about local SEO, I first would ask you what local SEO is, and then the second part would have been, no, I'm a salesman. That's how I got started in business, was in sales. But it wasn't until, again, I started realizing that the people I was selling, I was really doing a disservice. I have clients that have stayed with me over the years. I mean, my life cycle for a client is remarkable. So I have some clients that have been with me for almost a decade. Like we're like 9.5 years in. And some of those clients from those initial websites, if I knew what I knew at that phase, right, in business, they would be at a totally different point, just because I now understand what it means to generate traffic, what it means to generate leads to these local businesses.
Gotcha. Now, prior to actually getting on your site, what is, besides calling you immediately, but what are maybe some tips that folks can actually do right now to boost their exposure? Like, I know for one, some of these pizza places just need to get on Grubhub and call it a day. But what are some other things that folks can do to get their branding out and get started?
So to speak to, food delivery services, those places are paramount, because they do put you in front of the customer a different way, but you always want to make sure that you're able to tell your story, right? Mm-hmm. Grubhub is not going to tell the story of Mario's Pizza, right? They're going to tell you Mario has pizza and that's about it. But if Mario's Pizza has a story, you want to be sure that you're able to tell it as well. The most important thing when you're talking about local SEO, specifically local SEO, is to make sure that your Google My Business page is claimed. Whenever we're searching for things, and especially if it's a service industry, we always see that little box up in the corner when you're looking at your screen. It's always on the right-hand side, and it's got so-and-so's information, right? Whatever the business is information. It's got their hours, the phone number. You can even click the directions button. That's your Google My Business listing. If you're a local business, that's probably the first step. The next thing is to make sure that your Yelp listing is claimed. Even if you're not going to promote it, you still want to make sure, again, that you're able to update it. Maybe there's some things that have changed. Maybe it's an existing business and it's under new ownership. Make sure that you're able to update those things. And then lastly, any place where you are promoting your business, make sure that you have consistency in the messaging. Okay. So those would be the three key things that I would say, just, like, you don't need me to do, right? Like, quite frankly, you don't need me to do any of those three things. I can do them, I can claim your Google My Business, but every business owner that hears this should go check to see if they're eligible to be a Google My Business. And then if they are, claim your listing and then start updating the information in there.
Awesome, awesome. Now, if people are having difficulty doing that, where can they go to get in contact with you, Wendell?
Yes, sir. So I always say it this way. LinkedIn is the best way to reach me because it's the easiest. You know, you're going to see my funny looking face, right? So you'll know it's me. If you want to email, my email is a bit long. So it's wendell@jordanmarketingconsultants.com. Phone is always trivial. That's a generational thing, right? Like there's an entire generation of people who would prefer to send emails and texts. So I don't even bother with the phone number anymore. But LinkedIn, you can always go to the website, jordanmarketingconsultants.com. And, you know, we're always available. We give as much as we can for free in the sense of free information, right? Like we'll point you in the direction, even if you're not within the scope of our pricing, right? Like, you know, we're not a can't help you get out of here kind of place. You know, like, again, if they don't hear this and they get it from somewhere and they're like, well, what was the thing you said on the podcast? Google My Business, right? And then have fun, you know. But yeah, those are the best ways to reach me.
Awesome, awesome. And then is there anything upcoming, major announcements about your company that you'd like to share with everybody?
Funny enough, the only reason I am on this podcast tour is to get people to understand what local SEO is. I don't have any like really cool announcements. I don't have any books or anything. We're in the space of digital marketing. So, you know, there isn't much that we don't cover, but I mean, the only thing I want people to know is local SEO is a real thing, especially if you are a brick and mortar or a location-based business, right? If you're a lawn care company and you don't have a physical location, local SEO is still extremely important to you.
Sure, sure. Awesome, awesome. And then a surprise question for you, since we got some time.
Okay.
What is a motivational quote or piece of advice that you live by that keeps you going and waking up every single day to continue on with Jordan Marketing Consultants?
Man, yeah, that is a pop. That is a from left field one, man. Wow.
Pop
So
quiz.
So there's a couple. There's a couple. The one
hit me with both.
Okay, so the one that I realize is ingrained in me now. Whenever people ask me how I'm doing, 99.9% of the time I say fantastic, no matter how I'm really doing. I listened to a Zig Ziglar audio book many years ago, and what he talked about was controlling that feeling, right? No matter how you're doing, we always talk about how we're doing, the weather, whatever it is, traffic was bad, all those things. But when people ask you how you're doing, you control that narrative. So people who know me or even people who encounter me more than once, they always laugh because they know if they ask me how I'm doing, I'm always doing fantastic. It doesn't matter what's going on because it's still fantastic, right? There's so many other things that could be going wrong. So I think that that's something that I don't even realize it's just what I say, right? And sometimes I hear myself saying it no matter how rough the day has been. And I laugh because I go, well, yeah, I guess it is fantastic. You're still saying it, right? Because even if it's not fantastic at the moment, there's going to be something that's going to bring you back to fantastic.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
And the other thing that's inadvertent, consistency. I started working out 3 days a week.
Okay.
I am passionate about getting my 3 days in. It doesn't matter what the 3 days are. I'm going to get my 3 days in. Usually they're in succession of each other. And then it dawned on me that if I had that same consistency in other spaces, how much could you accomplish, right?
Right.
Right. And again, it's only 3 days. And I mean, I've like my results from my 3 days a week have been great, right? Like truly immense for only 3 days a week. But it's because I do it every week, 3 days a week. So if you're write every day, right? Whatever the schedule is, keep the schedule. Even if you only write a little bit that day, because every day I don't, it's not always the same intensity in my workout, but I work out every day. I work out those 3 days. Usually it's the same 3 days, but the point is be consistent. And when you look back on your consistency, before you know it, you will be leaps and bounds from the day that you started, which is exactly what I've experienced specifically with working out. Like there's certain things where I'm like, oh, wow, I can't believe it's been that many weeks already. I don't even remember when I started at this point. How about that?
That's nice. Nice. I love that, man. No. I really, really appreciate that. And it's something that we need to, look at. And I usually add on persistence as well, because people get consistent with something, but, it might just turn out to where it's like, they might not have that same intensity. It's like, hey, I'm doing it. I did it today. Or, it's going from that. Yeah, I'm reading 20 minutes every single day in a book to, yeah, I read a page, so that's great. But, as long as you got that persistence behind that consistency, everything will be great. So
absolutely.
But Wendell, I want to thank you again so much, man. I really appreciate you,
sir.
King, for being on the RNG radio show. Definitely looking forward to having you back. And before I let you go, can you give us that website one more time where folks can find you at?
Yes, sir. JordanMarketingConsultants.com.
Awesome.
And thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to talk about local SEO and my very lackadaisical fitness routine of only 3 days a week.
Not a problem, man. Not a problem. As long as you're not coming on here talking about steroids, we're good to go.
No, not at all.
Juice up every single morning.
Right.
This is how I get built with my SEOs. So, no. Thank you again, man. Really appreciate you having me, and I'll definitely check you out soon, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you.